Mesdames et messieurs,
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to our annual general meeting of shareholders. My name is Allan, Executive Chairman of the Board of Directors of Cascades. Although our meeting is in virtual format, we've made every effort to ensure that you can fully participate in our annual meeting. I invite you to ask your questions, which will be answered at the end of the meeting during the question period, and to vote on each of the topics on the agenda from now until we inform you that the voting period is over. Once the electronic voting is over, the voting page will disappear and your votes will be automatically recorded. This meeting is being held in French, but simultaneous translation into English is available, as you may have noticed when logging onto the platform. Once again, thank you for joining us. I call this meeting to order. I will be chairing this virtual meeting. With me today are Plourde, President and Chief Executive Officer, Allan Hogg, Vice President and Chief Financial Officer, and Michael Guerra, Corporate Secretary, who will act as Secretary of the meeting. I would now like to ask the Secretary to explain certain procedures related to the meeting. Michael? Thank you, Allan. Since the meeting is being held virtually via a live web audio cast, we feel it is necessary to establish a few rules to ensure the smooth running of the meeting. Registered shareholders and duly appointed proxy holders who wish to communicate with members of the management team or who wish to submit or ask a question on a proposal may do so using the instant messaging feature of the virtual interface. Alternatively, if you wish to ask a question by phone, type your phone number into the chat box and click the send button. You will receive an automated call from the system through which you can listen to the live broadcast. You can ask your question then when prompted. Only registered shareholders or their duly appointed proxies may participate, ask questions, and vote at the meeting. As described in our management proxy circular, duly appointed proxies were required to register with our transfer agent and obtain a control number prior to this meeting in order to attend, vote, and ask questions. All other proxies may attend the meeting as guests. Questions will be dealt with only during the question period at the end of the meeting. Questions or comments that contain inappropriate language or that disrupt the orderly conduct of the meeting will not be answered. We will not repeat questions that have already been answered or that are redundant. For the meeting today, all matters will be voted on by a single electronic vote. Registered shareholders and duly appointed proxies will be invited to vote on each item of business as indicated above through a message on the virtual interface asking you to vote. You will have sufficient time to vote on each item, but please note you will have a time limit to do so. It's important to mention that shareholders who have already voted in advance do not have to vote again and can simply ignore the online ballot. Thank you, Michael. I would now ask the Secretary to file the notice of meeting, the management proxy circular, the voting proxy form, and the certificate of sending of said documents. And then please keep them on file for this meeting. The documents are tabled. Thank you, Michael. Representatives of Computershare Investor Services, Inc., the company's transfer agent and registrar, act as scrutineers for this meeting. They are counting the proxies and the votes cast online today. I'm advised that their report is now ready. and I would invite Mr. Steve Gilbert to read it to us.
Bonjour, Monsieur le Président.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. We, the undersigned scrutineers from Computershare Investor Services, Inc., hereby report that there are at least 10 shareholders and/or proxy holders present at this meeting, representing in person or by proxy 72,645,670 shares, being 72.38% of the total outstanding shares of Cascade, Inc. that are outstanding shares. So I have a report here that is signed by myself, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Gilbert. I hereby declare that the meeting is duly convened and validly constituted to deal with the subjects on the agenda. As mentioned by the Secretary earlier, voting rights can be exercised on all matters submitted to the vote by means of a single electronic ballot. Once all items on the meeting agenda have been voted on, the scrutineers will tabulate the vote for each item. The next item on the agenda is the receipt of the company's audited consolidated financial statements for the year ended December 31, 2022, and the independent auditor's report. I would ask the Secretary to file the audited consolidated financial statements of the company for the year ended December 31, 2022, together with the independent auditor's report thereon, and the affidavit of transmittal certifying that a copy of such documents was mailed on April 11, 2023 to the stockholders shareholders, that is, who requested them. I'm tabling the documents.
Merci, Michael.
Thank you, Michael. The next item on the agenda is the election of the 11 candidates proposed by management for the positions of directors of the corporation. The board established the number of candidates proposed for the election as directors of the corporation at 11. You will have noticed when reading the proxy circular that Mrs. Elise Pelletier and Mr. Martin Couture are retiring from the board of directors. Elise is stepping down after 10 years of loyal service as director of Cascades after a rich career within our company, having notably served as Vice President of Human Resources of Cascades and Norampac for several years. Having served on our board of directors for more than 6 years, and given the recent increase in his professional duties in the family business, making it more and more difficult for him to fulfill his duties and responsibilities as director of the company, Martin has chosen not to seek a new mandate on the board of directors of Cascades. On behalf of the shareholders, members of the board of directors, management, and employees of Cascades, and on my own behalf, I would like to express all our gratitude and recognition for their invaluable contribution to the success of Cascades. Once again, thank you so much, Elise and Martin. Can a registered holder of common shares or proxy holder of shares now make a proposal for the nomination of each of the 11 persons? My name is Michael Guerra, shareholder. Mr. Chairman, I nominate each of the following persons for election as directors of the corporation: Mr. Allan Lemaire, Ms. Sylvie Lemaire, Ms. Sylvie Vachon, Mr. Mario Plourde, Ms. Michelle Cormier, Mr. Patrick Lemaire, Mr. Hubert Delacroix, Mr. Nelson Gentiletti, Ms. Melanie Dunn, Ms. Elif Levesque, and Mr. Alex N. Blanco.
Merci, Michael.
Thank you, Michael. Are there any other candidates to propose? Since there are no other candidates, may a registered holder of common shares or a proxy holder now make a proposal for the election of each of these 11 persons. My name is Allan Hogg, shareholder. Mr. Chairman, I propose that each of the 11 nominees be elected to serve on the board of directors of the corporation until the next annual general meeting or until their successors are elected. Thank you, Allan. Is this motion seconded? My name is Michael Guerra. I'm a shareholder, and I second this motion. Thank you, Michael. The motion has been made and seconded. I remind you that for all proposals, voting rights are exercised through a single electronic ballot. Click on the in favor or abstain button next to each candidate's name. The next item on the agenda is the appointment of the independent auditor for the year 2023. The board of directors, on the advice of the Audit and Finance Committee, recommends that the firm of PricewaterhouseCoopers Chartered Professional Accountants be appointed as the company's independent auditor and that the directors be authorized to fix its remuneration. I see that Michael Guerra wishes to make a motion to that effect. Mr. Chair, I move that PricewaterhouseCoopers Chartered Professional Accountants be appointed as the company's independent auditor for the next year and that the board of directors be authorized to set its remuneration. Thank you, Michael. So this motion needs to be seconded. Would anyone like to second? My name is Allan Hogg, shareholder. Mr. Chair, I second this motion. Thank you, Allan. The motion has been made and seconded. Click on the in favor or abstain button next to the resolution to appoint PricewaterhouseCoopers as the company's independent auditor. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the advisory resolution accepting the company's approach to executive compensation, as described in the proxy circular. I see that Michael Guerra wishes to make a motion to that effect. Mr. Chair, I move the adoption of the advisory resolution accepting the corporation's approach to executive compensation. Thank you, Michael. Would Allan Hogg like to second that motion? Mr. Chair, I second that motion. Thank you, Allan. The motion has been duly made and seconded. Now you can click on the in favor or against button next to the advisory resolution accepting the company's approach to executive compensation. The next item on the agenda is the adoption of a resolution approving the replenishment of the share reserve for the company's stock option plan, all as described in the management proxy circular. I see that Michael wishes to make a motion to this effect. Mr. Chair, I move the approval of a resolution for the purpose of approving the replenishment of the share reserve for the company's stock option plan. Thank you, Mr. Guerra. Would Allan Hogg like to second the motion? Mr. Chair, I second the motion. Thank you, Allan.
Maintenant, cliquez sur le bouton en faveur.
Now you can click on the for or against button next to the resolution approving the replenishment of
D'options d'achat
the stock reserve for the company's stock option plan.
La prochaine item à l'ordre du jour.
The next item on the agenda is the proposal submitted by MEDAC and described in Appendix A of the proxy circular. After discussions with the company, MEDAC has agreed to withdraw its 3 proposals. They will therefore be presented, but no vote will be held on them. I will now ask the representative MEDAC to present the 3 proposals. Mr. Willie Gagnon, you have the floor. Yes, hello, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me clearly? Very good, thank you. Go ahead. Perfect. So, as you just said, I am Willie Gagnon. I am a representative of MEDAC, who is a shareholder of the company. This year, we are proposing 3 things, and we have an agreement on all of these. We are very happy with the discussions that we had with the company. We had proposed the level of language proficiency be higher in companies. It's described in your proxy circular, and this is not the same for all companies that we have sent this proposal. We sent it to around 20 companies, and not all the companies have agreed with us. We want to use you as an example to make our proposals in the future. And we want to mention that there are people who speak Italian, Turkish, and Portuguese. That's wonderful. We believe that this is a favorable situation, and we do want to use your example to ask for the language proficiency to be such in all companies. So we also have the proposal about women in management, and we were already accepted. We are very happy with that, and we sent a proposal relative to the role of human resources and compensation. And we wanted this to be reflected in the company's documentation that there's work to be done at this regard in terms of remunerating not only the management but others. And so the company has showed us that they are in favor of that, and so we're very happy about it. So once again, thank you, Mr. Chair, for the time you've given us, not only right now but throughout the year, to discuss these issues. Thank you, Mr. Gagnon, for your collaboration and to keep us up on all of your good suggestions. The Board of Directors has stated its position on the proposals in the solicitation circular, and no vote is required on these 3 proposals.
If you have not already done so, we invite you to vote on all of the items on the agenda, namely the election of directors, the appointment of the independent auditor, the approval of the advisory resolution accepting Cascades' approach to executive compensation, and the approval of the resolution to replenish the share reserve for the company's stock option plan. I would like to remind you that shareholders who have already voted in advance do not have to vote again and can simply ignore the online ballot. Once the electronic ballot is complete, the voting page will disappear and your votes will be automatically recorded. We allow registered shareholders and proxies 1 minute to complete the electronic ballots. Once the voting is complete, I will ask the scrutineers to compile a report of the results of the voting on all agenda items. We will be back shortly for the results.
Merci de votre patience.
Thank you for your patience. I would now like to invite Mr. Steve Gilbert from Computershare to read the Scrutineers report on the preliminary results of the vote.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You can all hear me? Yes. All right.
Merci, Monsieur le Maire.
Thank you, Mr. Le Maire. With respect to the election of directors, I confirm that all 11 candidates were duly elected as directors of the corporation. I'm also able to announce that the resolution regarding the appointment of PricewaterhouseCoopers as the corporation's independent auditor, the advisory resolution accepting Cascades' approach to executive compensation, as well as the resolution approving the replenishment of the stock reserve for the corporation's stock option plan, were all adopted. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Merci.
Thank you once again, Mr. Gilbert. I can confirm that the final results of the vote will be available on SEDAR as of tomorrow. I would now like to invite Mario Plourde, President and Chief Executive Officer, to take the floor. Good morning to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us today. On behalf of the Cascade management team, I would like to thank our shareholders, our customers, our partners, and the communities in which we operate for their collaboration throughout 2022. I would also like to thank our employees for their constant support and their immeasurable contribution to our success. Without a doubt, their hard work and dedication, despite the challenges and uncertainties encountered in the past year, have enabled Cascade to provide our customers with the essential products and solutions they need on a daily basis. The year 2022 has certainly been a difficult one, presenting us with its share of operational cost challenges. However, it was also encouraging in light of the significant progress we made on our strategic plan and the resilience we demonstrated throughout the year. On a consolidated basis, Cascade faced more than $475 million in additional costs in 2022. But through the implementation of significant countermeasures, we were able to offset more than $460 million of these costs. We still have work to do, especially in our tissue business, where price increases take longer to implement and where material cost increases have been significant and sustained. However, we are encouraged by the progress we've made and continue to make in order to optimize Cascade's financial and operational performance. Amidst the challenging environment of this past year, we have also made significant progress on our Bear Island project, which we will talk about in a few minutes. Let me start with our sales performance in 2022. Cascade sales total $4.5 billion, which represents a 13% increase over the 2021 levels. This increase is attributable to higher selling prices as well as a more favorable product mix and exchange rate. The company generated operating income of $33 million in 2022, down from $50 million in the previous year. Adjusted earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization, or EBITDA adjusted, was $376 million in 2022 and was 3% lower than the prior year. On a margin basis, this represents 8.4% of sales in 2022 compared to 9.8% in 2021. As we've explained in our annual statements, this performance reflects significant inflationary pressure on costs throughout the past year, in addition to slightly lower volumes across our business. These effects were offset by higher selling prices in all segments. This past year has been quite busy, and we've been successful in driving strategic investments across our business throughout the year. On a consolidated basis, we've invested $532 million in our property, plant, and equipment, of which approximately 80%, or $426 million, was invested in the containerboard segment. The lion's share of the investment in this segment was allocated to our strategic paper machine conversion project in Burr Island, located in Virginia, and where they have now started operations. In general, investments throughout the year were aimed at improving competitive positioning, productivity, and long-term value creation. They also included investments in converting equipment in our tissue and specialty product businesses, and the addition of recycled pulp capacity and improvements to the water treatment systems at our Kingsley Falls production facility. Let me now briefly discuss the results of each of our business segments. Our containerboard segment performed well in 2022, with sales up 13% to reach $2.3 billion in 2022. This increase is largely the result of higher average selling prices as well as a favorable foreign exchange rate, the benefits of which offset the impact of slightly lower volumes. EBITDA adjusted levels also increased year over year in 2022 by 8%, or $29 million, to reach $401 million, while margins of 18% are slightly lower than those of 2021. We are pleased with how our business has performed in the highly inflationary environment of 2022. The inflationary macro environment increased the total planned investment for the large Bear Island projects to $690 million Canadian, or $525 million from the original project, which was 475 million Canadian dollars, or $380 million. Construction of the project was completed at the end of March, and we produced the first roll of paper only a few days ago. Strategically, this facility will be very competitive with the production of high-quality, 100% recycled lightweight linerboard, characteristics that are very well aligned with key market trends. It will be one of the most efficient facilities in our industry in North America, complementing our Green Pack facility and further strengthening our containerboard platform, both from a product and geographic perspective. The remaining investment in this project is expected to be $175 million in 2023, and we expect a positive EBITDA contribution in the second half of the year. Let's now turn to the highlights of our specialty products segment. This business segment continued to enjoy positive momentum in 2022, with sales up 19%. The EBITDA adjusted for this segment increased by 24%, as higher selling prices and favorable foreign exchange rates more than offset the impact of inflationary cost pressures. Although there was some slowdown in demand in the second half of the year, partly due to the avian flu outbreak, results were supported by higher realized margins and strong demand for the sustainable packaging solutions produced in this segment. Finally, the results of our tissue segment reflected a challenging environment. We were able to increase sales by 12% in 2022 as the beneficial impacts of selling price increases, product mix, and more favorable exchange rates strengthened throughout the year in order to offset lower volumes. However, profitability levels in this segment were significantly affected by inflation in raw material, transportation, production, production and energy costs. Price increases have not countered these headwinds in 2022, but are expected to have a significant beneficial effect in 2023 when the annualized benefits of these measures will materialize. I will now turn the call over to Allan, who will provide some additional financial details for 2022, as well as an outline of our results for the first quarter of 23, which were released earlier this morning. Allan? Thank you, Mario. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. As Mario talked about the operational and financial highlights for 2022, my comments will focus on our key financial indicators from the past year, followed by a brief overview of our first quarter 2023 results that were released earlier this morning. In terms of our debt levels, the net debt increased by $615 million, or 46% year-over-year in 2022. This reflects significant investments of $335 million in our Bear Island projects in 2022. Working capital requirements caused by cost inflation and selling price increases and the negative impact of foreign exchange rates of $111 million. These items were offset by cash flow generation from our lower operations 2022 and proceeds from the disposal of assets. We returned a total of $57 million to shareholders in 2022, reflecting $48 million in dividends and $9 million to share repurchases. At the end of 2022, Cascades dividend yield was 5.7%. Our debt ratio stood at 5.2 times at the end of 2022, up from 3.5 times at the end of 2021. This largely reflects the significant investments in our Bear Island project throughout the year in preparation for its startup and the weaker EBITDA performance in our tissue paper segment during the year. We expect to reverse this trend in 2023 as the Bear Island facility will ramp up production. Capital investments will decrease and profitability initiatives in our tissue paper segment gains momentum. We do not currently have any significant maturities until 2025. We had $265 million available on our credit facility as of March 31st, 2023, and we expect our operations to generate good cash flow this year. To that end, we expect our cash flow to fully fund our capital needs in the coming year. Now, let's turn to the Q1 23 results, which were released earlier today. First quarter 2023 sales total $1.13 billion. This is flat compared to the fourth quarter 2022 levels and represents a 9% increase over the same period last year. Compared to the same period in 2022, sales levels benefited from higher selling prices in all segments, as well as a favorable foreign exchange, higher volumes in container board, and better sales mix in tissue. These factors were partially offset by lower volumes in tissue and specialty products, a less favorable mix in container board, and a lower contribution from our recovery and recycling operations due to lower raw material prices. The decreases in raw material prices were favorable to all our business segments during the period. Average recycled board prices were down 6% from the fourth quarter, and white recycled fiber prices were down 11%. We are pleased to note that prices for the various types of pulp have also begun to decrease by 4% and 5% respectively for the fourth quarter levels. Compared to the same period in 2022, however, white recycled fibers and pulp prices have increased between 8% and 16%. Recycled paperboard prices, on the other hand, fell 76% year over year. Let's now turn to our results for the first quarter. The company recorded a higher operating loss in this quarter, primarily resulting from write-downs related to certain U.S. assets in the amount of $152 million. However, from an operational perspective, we are off to a strong start this year. Consolidated adjusted EBITDA increased 121% or $76 million year over year, with all three of our businesses contributing to these stronger results. Specifically, the year-over-year improvement reflects higher selling prices in all segments and lower raw material costs for our packaging business. These benefits were offset by higher production, energy, and transportation costs, as well as lower results from our recovery and recycling operations due to lower raw material prices. Let's now turn to the evolution of net debt in the first quarter. Cash flow from operations, a positive foreign exchange effect, and proceeds from the disposal of assets all benefited our net debt levels during that period. These disposal of assets all benefited and these items were more than offset by working capital requirements in the current period and capital investments, primarily in our barrel and projects, for which approximately 100 million was invested in the first quarter. Net debt increased by $104 million or 5% from December 31st levels, but our debt to capitalization ratio decreased to 4.6 times due to higher profitability levels. My comments on the first quarter 2023 results are brief, so please refer to our quarterly investor presentation, press release, and MD&A for more details. In addition, a replay of our quarterly conference call held earlier this morning is available on our website. Thank you for your attention. I will now turn the call over to Mario, who will conclude on our outlook for 2023 and the update of our strategic plan. Mario? Thank you, Allan.
Before I turn to the update of our strategic plan, I would like to briefly discuss our outlook for 2023. As Allan pointed out in his discussion of the first quarter results, energy, logistics, labor, and production supply cost levels have stabilized, although they do remain high. Raw material prices for our tissue business have begun to decline, which will provide positive momentum for our business. Old corrugated container prices, or OCC, have increased from the historically low levels at the end of last year, and we expect them to increase slightly in 2023. Average containerboard selling prices fell slightly at the end of last year, and we expect prices to be relatively stable through 2024. However, I would add that if economic performance weakens, then downward pressure on containerboard selling prices could increase. These factors are offset by continued solid demand for packaging products and the recent startup of our Bear Island project, which I mentioned earlier. As for tissue, demand remains healthy for retail converted products, while we have seen some slowdown in the early year in the away-from-home categories. Overall, our outlook for the tissue sector is positive for 2023. The segment's results will benefit from the full annualized benefits of announced price increases and other strategic initiatives implemented in 2022, lower raw material costs, as I just mentioned, and the repositioning of its operating platform that was announced in late April. Let me now briefly highlight the updated financial objectives of our 2022-2024 strategic plan. We provided an update on this plan during our first quarter 2023 earlier this morning. And I invite you to listen to the replay of that call and read the accompanying materials for more detail. And you can access both documents on our website. As we discussed on our call this morning, we continue to have a goal of generating approximately $5.0 billion in revenue and adjusted EBITDA margin of between 12% and 14% in 2024. The goal of generating free cash flow levels between 9 and 10% of sales after the completion of the Bear Island project remains unchanged, as does our dividend payment. We have not renewed our normal course issuer bid, and with the completion of the Bear Island project, achieving our 2.0 to 2.5 debt to capitalization target becomes a priority. We will continue to be disciplined in managing our balance sheet and capital allocation plans, and will limit capital investments to $175 million in 2024. Achieving this goal, originally planned for the end of 2024, is delayed by 1 year. To reflect this, we have adjusted our 2024 target to 2.5 to 3 times. We remain committed to achieving the goals of our strategic plan for the company, our employees, our customers, and our shareholders. These actions also extend to our commitment to sustainability, which is at the heart of who we are and everything we do. We are immensely proud that this commitment continues to be recognized. According to the Corporate Knights Global 100 ranking, Cascades was recognized as the 20th most responsible company in the world, again ranking first in the containers and packaging category. We also received a double A rating in the MSCI ESG assessment for 2022. For a third consecutive year, Cascades was awarded the Bronze Parity Certification by Women in Governance. We were also named one of Canada's top 100 employers, as well as being recognized as a top employer for new graduates. These recognitions are indicative of the actions we are taking, which are paying off. The results you see on the screen put us at the top of our industry. While our efforts are remarkable, we also want to extend them to our customers' operations, supporting them in their efforts to reduce their environmental footprint, and by providing value-added green products and advice. Now more than ever, consumers are demanding that companies be responsible, and Cascades is a role model. Our ESG strategy is aligned with the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. We have ambitious targets to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and we remain committed to ensuring that all our packaging is recyclable, compostable, or reusable by 2030. Recognizing the growing importance of ESG data disclosure, Cascades is working to improve its collection and communication process to apply the same rigor as our financial data receives. This demonstrates the seriousness of our commitment, as it has been the case since our beginnings nearly 60 years ago. Cascades is and will remain a company devoted to the circular economy. Every day, our employees work to develop new products and reinvent ways of doing things to achieve the ultimate goal of innovation, to create value for customers, always for the betterment of communities and for the planet. In the past year, this culture has led to innovations such as the Northbox Extend, which enhances our line of insulated packaging solutions, the new 100% recyclable and recycled peat tray, a premium alternative to more difficult to recycle food packaging that helps reduce food waste through its unique design. The Ocean Northbox, an alternative to non-recycled packaging in the fishing industry, contains a maximum of 65% recycled fiber and is also recyclable. We will continue to expand our offering in innovative green solutions, which is a true value creation driver for Cascades, our customers, and our shareholders. This willingness to push the limits is a credit to our employees who day after day show their heart and soul and their dedication. Their talent is no longer in question, because we hope to be able to count on their participation for a long time to come, and because we want to find the best colleagues for them, we have developed and distributed our new employer brand over the past year, which has a signature entitled Respect Your Nature, reflecting our respect for both nature and our employees. This speaks to the human character of our company and the trust that we place in all our talent and the importance we place on developing their full potential. Once again, I would like to thank our employees for their undeniable contribution to our success. The past year has been one of the most challenging in our history, but I salute the resilience and ingenuity of our people who have enabled us to overcome the obstacles and keep us above the fray. With them, we feel confident about the future. The strategic initiatives and investments we have made over the past years have positioned Cascades to create value for the company and for all our stakeholders. We thank you for your attention today and for your continued support and confidence. We look forward to updating you on our progress throughout the year.
Bravo, Mario. Merci, Allan.
Great, Mario. Thank you. Thank you, Allan. We're now at the question period. We will answer questions that any registered shareholder or duly appointed proxy holder wishes to bring to the attention of this meeting. For each question received in the chat box, we will summarize the question and read aloud the name of the person who asked the question and, if applicable, the name of the entity that they represent. However, if you'd like to ask a question by phone, please type your phone number into the chat and submit or click on the submit button.
Michael, est-ce qu'il y a
You will receive an automated call from the system where you can listen to the live broadcast. You'll be able to ask your question when we invite you to do so.
Alain, on a une question de Monsieur.
Allan, do we have a question by Mr. Willie Gagnon, who is for the movement of education and defense of shareholders? I will read Mr. Gagnon's question, which is as follows. To enable shareholders to be in a virtual meeting is a very good thing, but not having any ones in person is a bad decision. We know there are sanitary measures now, and we have many meetings in person. So why not have a meeting in person? And when will you be having in-person meetings? So Allan, the floor is yours. Thank you, Mr. Gagnon, for that question. Yes, the virtual format has become easier for most shareholders to attend. The pandemic is behind us, we hope so at least, and we still have people who are reticent in terms of traveling to meetings. And so that with this new technology, it's become for us, and not just for us, but for most organizations, it's become a very standard practice. Next year, in 2024, that will be our 60th anniversary. So at that point, we are considering having a hybrid meeting. But you'll be able to hear about our decisions in the future. Thank you, Mr. Gagnon. There are no other questions, Allan. So, if there are no other questions, we will now close the question period. We have used up all the time that we had to answer questions, so this concludes the question period of this meeting. Having exhausted all the subjects on the agenda, I declare the meeting closed, adjourned. Journalists who would like to conduct individual interviews following the meeting are asked to contact Hugo Damours, Vice President Communications, Public Affairs and Sustainable Development, whose contact information appears on your screen. Thank you for your attention. Stay well, and see you next time we have to report our great results. Have a nice day.